to talk about political purity tests for a second and political purity in general. And I want to tell you a quick story, which is when Kamala Harris first became the candidate, like everybody, I was insane with glee and excitement. I mean, I still am, don't get me wrong, but it was a very giddy feeling of just like, oh, this ideal candidate. And I felt that way for many weeks, and then the convention happened. And then at the convention, a couple of interest groups that are really important to me were not featured. And I felt a deflation, a feeling of, oh, okay, she's not perfect. Definitely. Like those were a couple of things that were really important to me, and she didn't address them. Bummer. So at that moment, there's a fork in the road, right? Where we go either like, I'm not going to support her anymore because my special interest was not addressed. One of those, by the way, is the fact that there were no trans speakers at the convention, and I have a trans kid. This really bummed me out. But there were other things, and you can probably surmise what some of them were. But that was, as a mom, a real gut punch for me. That and in general in this election has not been a lot of really kind attention to kids like mine. Maybe even the opposite in some cases. So why am I supporting her anyway? Because as Rebecca Solnit says, voting is a chess move. It's not a love letter, right? The thing that is really important for me to remember, I'm a grown-up. I'm not a kid. I'm not, a politician is not Santa Claus. They're not going to give me everything I want, right? How many citizens are there in the United States? Well, let's do a quick Google search, shall we? So as of this month, it is 345,900,000 and change. That's a lot of people. So if a presidential candidate did everything to please me personally, there would be something wrong with them, because that candidate has to find a way to somehow sort of please all Americans. Now, obviously, she won't. There are some who will just never even open their minds to her. But a presidential candidate is trying to appeal to all of America, and they have to represent all of America. They have to get elected by all of America, or enough of them to overcome the Electoral College disadvantage. So all of this is to say that if Kamala Harris were the perfect candidate for me, she would be a grotesquely imperfect candidate for lots of other people. She's got to find that balance. And again, as a grown-up, I am looking at one thing. There's two candidates. It's a binary choice. There's no other option. It will be Harris or Trump. Which one of them is going to be easier to organize under? Which one of them can be pushed in the right direction? It's a train. I'm going to get on one of two trains. Which train is going to take me in the direction I want to go in? As the mom to a trans kid, as somebody who's terrified about climate change, as someone who doesn't want their child to be, unalived at school because of firearm violence, as someone who is concerned about our democracy, as someone who is desperately concerned about women's bodily autonomy. Which train gets me closer? It's an obvious answer. So would I like it if Kamala Harris ticked off every box? Yes. She doesn't for me. She can't for me because she's trying to tick as many boxes as she can for hundreds of millions of Americans. I'm a grown-up. I can't have perfection. The perfect is the enemy of the good in this case. So I know that this will probably not convince most people who are purists, but I will remind you that our purist politicians, the AOCs and the Bernie Sanders, who I love the most, probably pass the least legislation of anyone. Politics is the art of compromise. It is the art of what is possible. And sometimes it is the art of the lesser of two evils. Yes, it is, because we live in the real world. So I hope that's helpful to you. And I'll close again with Rebecca Solnit. It's a chess move. It's not a love letter. But I do love all of you.